G'day guys, Happy New Year. Jacob from the Tripod here for the first edition of Punting 101 for 2019. I hope you guys have been having cracking holidays if you have managed to get any time off, and I hope you had a great New Year's. And as we look forward to 2019, we're going to keep bringing you these editions of Punting 101 at the very least through the off season, depending on how much quality content we think we've got to share that's worthwhile for you guys. And if you guys enjoy it, we'll keep sharing on a Friday afternoon a little bit of punting knowledge. And today I'm going to talk about the magical number of 60% because it is 2019 and we predominantly tip NRL. We've also been tipping the American sports this season, as you might know, but rugby league is where we butter our bread, and we're shooting for a fifth straight season of winning 60% against the spread. So 60% against 50-50 lines and totals. And when I say 5 straight, that's 5 out of 5. We began in 2015 season. And we've been able to achieve that every year, but I just want to talk about how difficult that truly is to win 60% of the time against the spread. And obviously, doing a little video talking about how it's not easy to make money punting, I could spend a lot longer than 5 minutes, but I'm just going to focus on one or two key variables that make it so hard. First of all, just let's reiterate, how do the bookies make money? Why do they make money? The main reason is because every time we're betting on a line or a total and we're getting $1.92, that represents that we're risking basically $11 to win 10. So if I'm on one side of a line and a team's a 10.5 point favorite or whatever, I'm risking 11 to win 10. Somebody who's on the other side of it and they've got the minus 10.5, they're risking 11 to win 10. And in that difference is basically the bookie's profit margin. Now, that's a spread bet, but what about head-to-head? You'll often see a team's $1.50 favourite and the other side might be around the vicinity of $2.50. So if I want to win $10, I've got to risk 20. On the other side, a person who risks $10 is going to win 15 on the underdog. So if one person's risking 10 to win 15, but the other person has to risk 20 to win 10. So there's that $5 kind of difference there that the bookie's taking a cut, where they're covered by $5 if people are betting on both sides. And we've spoken about how certain events, like horse racing or whatever, those margins or that amount of money that the bookie is holding, if the results split or if the action is split, is even worse. So we do focus on trying to bet against the spread because at least it's only risking 11 to win 10 and it's close to in our favor. And in fact, on what should be a 50-50 market, the actual magic number to break even is about 52.5%. So hopefully everyone can understand that concept, that if you're winning half the time, you're losing money because you're not doubling your stake every time you bet. So you need to be winning 52.5% just to get back to even. And 55% is nice and healthy, and 60% is the promised land, and it is very hard to do. And just the one main reason I'm going to talk about today why it is so hard to do, it is a little bit mathematical, but I've tried to simplify it as much as I can. It's the whole concept of variability, that there is no crystal ball out there and there is no predetermined score that a match is going to fall on. We don't know ahead of time that the Roosters are going to beat the Storm by 18 or 14 or whatever in the grand final. What we do is we try and judge a match based on all the information that we know, and we try and estimate what margin that team will win on average by, I suppose, and what spread that result is going to fall by. And basically, if you look at a team that is a 10-point favourite in the NRL, then that is saying that typically the result is going to fall somewhere around that team winning by 10. But what some people don't realise is 50% of the time in the NRL, the final result is going to actually fall 10 or more points away from the spread. So if we try and break that down, let's say we've got a 10-point favourite. Let's say the Broncos are 10-point favourites at home to Parramatta. But about a quarter of the time, 25% of the time, the Broncos will win that game by 20 or more. About a quarter of the time, the Broncos will lose that game. So you see that the final result will actually fall more than 10 points away from that prediction of Broncos by 10. And it's important to understand that a line bet in any sport, American football, basketball, rugby league, is not necessarily a prediction of the final score, but just splitting the difference, where they're saying about half the time that favourite will win by that number or more, and half the time they'll win by less than that number or lose. So that very notion right there basically means it's impossible to win 100% of the time, because if you had a team that truly should be a 10-point favourite and you could get them -8, -6, -4, all the way down to -2, that's a great bet. You'll take that bet every day of the week. On the other hand, if you could get the underdog +12, +14, +16, +18, I mean, they'd be great bets. You'd be very happy with any of those numbers if the final true line was meant to be around 10. But it doesn't matter how low of a number you get on a 10-point favourite if a quarter of the time they lose. That means you made a great bet, but you still lost. Or if you took an underdog plus a really high number, but a quarter of the time the favourite is going to cover the spread by more than 10, you still lost. So really, that's 50% out the window that you're never going to do much better than probably winning about half of them. So basically, try as hard as you possibly want. It's impossible to lose, more than 75% of the time. Even somebody trying their hardest to lose, is going to be well above a 25% win rate. So that in itself, if there's 20 bets you're making on the rugby league, there's 5 winners and 5 losses that it was basically just a coin flip because the spread was never really in question. It was either a blowout or it was an upset. So then you're only really, all your handicapping and all your hard work to try and get a good value line and get a line that is a better representation of what the final score is likely to fall at, that's going to only come into play, if you're lucky, about half the time. So actually in those remaining 10 out of 20, you've got to win 7 out of them because you might win 5 out of the 10 that just fall way outside the spread. That means you want to win another 7 to get you to 12 out of 20, which is your 60%. It's way harder to do than people think. One other concept, people look at 60% on line bets and they think, sure, I could hit 60%. What's 60%? 3 out of 5? Yeah, I could win 3 50-50s out of 5. And we're not saying you can't. If you made 5 of your favourite line bets this weekend or wait till round 1 of the rugby league and you made 5 bets, yeah, you could win 60%. But the point is, can you average 60%? Can you average winning 3 out of 5 every 5 bets for a whole season? Because that's what we have done, and we don't try and make it secretive. We don't tell you, oh, this is our bet and you just have to believe it. It's gospel. The pod says so. We tell you every single week why we believe we're making 60% bets. So we like to bring you along with us on the journey, and then every given week when we share our info, if we're saying this is the reasons we're seeing value, and it doesn't sound right to you or you disagree with our reasoning, then you probably wouldn't follow that bet. But every now and then we might give you a nugget of knowledge that is going to help you with your NRL betting and help you with your general sports betting. One last point I'm going to make on how hard it is to win 60% on the rugby league. Look at your tipping comp last year or any general tipping comps where they just give 1 point for a win and without any bonuses, because that gets a bit tricky with bonus points and double points and stuff like that. You'll find the vast majority of tipsters can't even win 60% on straight pick the winners. And that includes when you get to take the Melbourne Storm, at home against the Parramatta Eels, the bottom of the ladder, and all those short $10s, $15s, $20s, $30s. And most people still can't win 60% on a rugby league just picking straight. So then when you bring into the account the spread, to be able to win 60% is definitely not easy to do, but we'll do our very best again. And I hope that gave you something to think about and gave you a little bit of perspective. I'll sign off for now. I hope everyone has a great Friday night, a great weekend. We will see you tomorrow. It's actually NFL playoff time, so wildcard weekend preview tomorrow, 10 a.m. Queensland time, 11 a.m. south of the border for the NFL tomorrow. You know that I think we're about 54%, just to illustrate how hard it is. 54% winners on the NFL on our best bets, with quite a few juicy multis, 120-1 a week ago, 120-1 a bit earlier in the season. So tune in if you're interested in the NFL. Otherwise, I hope that you'll come along for the journey in 2019 for the rugby league. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers.